Video 93, The Past Lives of Obama, as explained here exclusively by the ancient spirit Tralaka. The ancient past lives of Obama, he had 13 lives, that's a lot, within the Draco systems of planets. Those lives in those parts of the Draco system had a longer day, which being 29 hours long. Their system's sun was a twin sun. Though one be bright yellow, the other had red rays mixed in with the white light, which made for very, very impressive sunsets. In those 13 lives, he was 9 feet tall and had the body form of a Draco humanoid. His eyes were a very strangely piercing laser black. His body, though humanoid, had more of a narrow face but longer, and crested on the sides of the top with very profound ears. The skin between the ears was an 8-inch thick spiked black hair on the top and 18 inches of hair hanging down to his shoulders. His smile produced a large, thicker than human's teeth smile, which did very well to communicate the mood of the moment he was engaged in. His arms and legs, though, were definitely the muscle of Draco bloodlines, very rippled muscles flowing under his skin, which had the tendency to scare new scientists that had come to do business. In all 13 lives in the Draco system, he was a scientist with a love to take care of, to take time off when he can, and even when he couldn't, he would take time off anyhow from being a scientist and pilot his very prized space-going craft, which had an engine of his very own design. This design was a 16 vertical asteroid-mined magnetic rings, very powerful, and in between each ring was 3 rings of hydrogen rings. On each side were 2 copper beams. Within each was a pure lab-grown generator the entire length of the apparatus of the engine. This produced together very massive amounts of energy, which would later be used by many different ships in the local Draco systems. These were not the fastest ships, though, but the power they had for transport and the easy maintenance for long journeys was very duly noted. He later would have 3 lives in the inner planets of the Vega system as an androidic humanoid, with his spirit being mounted within in this new design. Now, this was part of a 9th generation experiment in the design of an androidic humanoid that was built for the harsh environmental survival that would also be able to blend in locals from other areas of the system that would come in, and he would understand their language. Though strangely enough, in those 3 lives, he would spend 2 as a building engineer for orbiting city platforms, which when sold would be used in other areas for their planets to provide a stop after leaving their planet's surface to be able to refuel or to change cargo for ships that could not descend onto a certain planet's surface. Now, in the 3rd life he spent as an androidic humanoid, he was 6 feet tall, with glowing blue eyes, very spooky, and he was a cook and a horticulturist. Interesting combination for a new colony which had hollowed out areas of a local mid-sized moon, and they installed a sustainable, breathable air and gravity for the colonists, so they would stop whining all the time about the spacesuits, which he thought that those disposable humanoids, that is, the non-androidic, they whine far too much and they should stay focused on their trades. Ha! Disposable humanoids, he thought. They can be replaced. He later had 6 lives on the planet Tiamat, otherwise known as Maledic. This same planet, which is now the asteroid belt past the orbit of the planet Mars. In those 6 lives, he was 8 feet tall and a snake humanoid. Here, understand very carefully this description. He had near clear, crystal clear eyes with the slight haze of maroon. He was very much in form of a humanoid, save for the shine his skin had when out in the sunlight for hours, though the back of his hands and arms both had 6 rows of double-ridged scale an inch high. Between the toes of his feet was webbed with long claws within the webbing, which were retractable. You wouldn't want to go against a being like this. He would shred you. In 2 of those lives, he was a transport team member. Though more understanding here, he was actually part of the crew that would run the ships for the military installations, delivering stuff in areas very heavy in battle, which was quite normal for Maledic because it was always in confliction within itself and anybody else, with variables of species that they were warring against at those times of the warring tall grays and a species of the tall pin-headed beings. If you remember, those beings there had huge bases on those 2 planets that used to be there that were past the planet Mars. Remember this. Now, all fighting against the military of Tiamat at those times, it was all about who would be owning the planet. It was all about ownership. In 3 of those lives, he was a healer, a very known healer in his military surrounding, who had learned much of the healing technology in his very young schooling. Though he was in the middle of the warring species, performing healing for his native warriors to go back out into battle over and over and over again. Get damaged, get healed, go back out. Get damaged, get healed, go back out. Get damaged, get healed, get out there. Now, at war after war, it was horrible, but this was the way the environment was in his lives. In that very last life, number 6, he was a reptilian humanoid, standing tall at 10.53 feet tall, from a very proud and old family bloodline. Though, strangely here, no, it was not for war. They were not about war. How strange, very strange, but were known for a long history of being mediators between different warring species to bring the end of the sides' misunderstandings. Now, these situations from time to time made his family bloodline very wealthy. When it worked. When it didn't work, well, let's say the family bloodline just got a whole lot shorter. This here is the ancient spirit, Tralaka. As always, my friends, expand the mind to understand more, to remember more, to be able to understand more on your role here on this planet Earth and what you can grow to become that you would not have many years ago. The opportunities are here to expand the mind, to expand the understanding within a universe on your placement and purposes. This is the ancient spirit, Tralaka. Good night.